This video is sponsored by Bespoke Post. More on them later.
Fun fact, I learned that if you crash into runway lights so hard, the FAA will let you keep them. For legal reasons, that's a joke. I've never crashed an airplane, and I'm trying to keep it that way. These were acquired legally. Hey everyone, Xyla here. Welcome back to my channel, and I recently flew up to Oregon to visit my friend Jess. You've seen her on this channel before. I made their wedding rings for their awesome aviation wedding last year. And I've been having a pretty hard summer, and so she invited me to just escape to Oregon for a little while, fly my airplane around, and try to recover from a lot of the stuff that's been happening. I wish I was better with words because nothing can describe the beauty and the feeling of just soaring over some of Earth's most beautiful places.
A new place, a new home, for a while, let me feel alive. Nothing to hold me back, take my time, just enjoy the ride. A new man passing by, life is good, best I've ever felt. Get me up, somewhere new, somewhere I can find myself. Oh, I feel so alive. As I reach out to the sky. I found my way. I was in the dark against it all, but made it through the day, 'cause I found my way. In bad times, I know I'll be okay, 'cause I found my way. 'Cause I found my way.
The fleet. Okay, so Jess and Brian have a friend who was replacing all of the runway lights at a local airport, and they asked if he could just keep all of the old ones and they would take them. And so they have this awesome stash of decommissioned runway lights in the loft of one of the hangars. And so the very last day I was there, I snuck up and I stole some.
2 split ones. I feel like that would be cool.
Go for it.
Okay, this one's teal.
And ignore the fact that Jess is filming this, which implies permission. I stole them, and they look better because they are stolen.
Theft has begun. Let's go.
'Cause I found my way, my way, my way.
She made it, folks.
My way, my way. I found my way, I found my way. I was in the dark against it all, but made it through the day, 'cause I found my way, I found my way. In bad times, I know I'll be okay, 'cause I found my way. 'Cause I found my way. 'Cause I found my way, my way, my way. My way, my way. 'Cause I found my way, my way, my way. My way, my way. I found my way, I found my way. I was in the dark against it all, but made it through the day, 'cause I found my way, I found my way. In bad times, I know I'll be okay, 'cause I found my way.
I'm so excited, and I want to turn these into just normal house lamps. So let's do it.
The first thing I need to do is figure out what I'm working with here. So I disassembled the top unit and snipped away some of the wiring. And airport lights are actually super interesting and more complicated than you think. So as far as I understand, to reduce wire losses over the miles of cable down a runway, the lights are all connected to this really high voltage loop. And then they have their own transformers at every single light to bring it down to a more lampy voltage. But since I personally have no source of something to the order of like 5 kilovolts in my house and I want a house lamp, I'm just gonna snip it all out and replace it with some normal house lamp guts, because sometimes great engineering is just about knowing when to use a store-bought solution. Oh, and for those of you who don't know what runway lights are, they're basically just the lights on the side of runways and taxiways all over airports that help pilots navigate on the ground. So this is some footage I just took out of a commercial flight out of LAX, but it's the same general idea at small airports as well. And then I figured now was probably the best time to wash all of the dead spiders out of this, because there's no electronics to be messed with. So I subjected my poor kitchen sink to some like several decade old runway lights that were filled with so much disgusting dirt and grime and dead spiders, but we did it. And then I threw that brush away because I didn't want to think about eating any of that. The lamp wiring itself was pretty simple. All lamp kits, I think, are roughly the same. You kind of just have this main bolt section that you put nuts on both sides of wherever you want it to go, and then you have a socket that screws onto that. You poke your wires up through it, do a nice knot so that they don't ever get tugged out of the wiring, and then just like screw terminal them onto the electrical socket part, and you're done. And then some reassembly and a rinse and repeat on the taller one.
Okay, so here's the piece of wood I'm gonna make the bases out of. I think circles is the move here.
And to make the shapes for the bases, I did the really scientific method where I walked around the shop looking for circles roughly the size I wanted, held them up to the lamps, decided that they were good, and traced them out on the piece of wood, and then sort of loosely cut them out on the bandsaw. Could I have made a circle jig for this? Yes, but the lamps are kind of beat up and rustic anyway, so I didn't think that perfection was even the look I was going for. And honestly, if you need to criticize something, don't criticize the way I drew the circles, criticize the fact that I was too lazy to change the resaw blade on my bandsaw to a thinner blade, and so I couldn't just cut the circles out in one go. But like, you know, it's one circle. 2 circles. And I took my loose circles over to the oscillating sander to sand them down to the line, and then once they were close enough, I brought it over to the table router and rounded over all the edges. And then I hit them with the sander really quick and brought them over to the bench to throw on a single coat of Danish oil. And I didn't want to like over finish them. I wanted to leave them looking a little rough, but I did need to protect the wood. So that's why I opted for Danish oil.
Now with those aside to dry, let me tell you about the sponsor of today's video, which is Bespoke Post. Bespoke Post is a monthly membership club delivering awesome boxes of top shelf goods from under the radar brands. And it's free to join. Every month they introduce their members to cool new products. So outdoor gear, barware, home and kitchen goods, and so much more. Even live oysters. This is one of the ones I got. The box lineup changes every month, and each box has about $70 in value, but you only pay a fraction of the price. And one of my favorite things is that 90% of products that come in bespoke boxes are from small businesses, and many of those are based right here in the United States. And what's really great is you only pay for what you want. You'll get a box assigned to you each month based on the quiz that you take when you sign up, and before it's shipped, you'll get a preview of what comes inside, so you can decide if you want to keep it, swap it for a different box, or skip that month entirely. You only pay for what you want. Plus, the box lineup changes every single month.
To get 20% off your first box, click the link in the description and enter Xyla20 at checkout, or go to bespokepost.com/Xyla20.
Thank you so much to Bespoke Post for sponsoring this video. Now, let's get these lights assembled because I really want to see what they look like.
To finish up the bases, I drilled holes in the middle that were big enough that the entire plug could fit through because I did not think of that ahead of time. And then I freehand routed a channel for the wire to sneak across. And since it's under the lamp, it didn't need to be perfect, so I didn't use a template. And then I kind of just assembled it. And at this point, I stared at this base for a while, trying to think of a really good way to attach it that wasn't like clunky. I thought brackets would be kind of visually annoying. And then at some point I realized this is not structural. It's a house lamp. It's not a big engineering project. And plus, it wouldn't be a Xyla Foxlin video if I didn't break out some TotalBoat epoxy at some point. So I snagged some 4-minute epoxy and that did the job just fine. And then rinse and repeat on the smaller one, although this one didn't have that little hexagonal base that the other one did. I'm not entirely sure why one of them had it and the other one didn't. And so I just used a pipe flange from the hardware store that I painted yellow. And you'll notice that the bottom of the runway light is not threaded, so we're gonna call this one an interference fit and just not ask too many questions because it works just fine. Because it's a house lamp. The other thing is that I didn't have the right size screws for this pipe flange. Like the screws I had that were short enough fit all the way through the holes, and it was the end of a long day and I didn't feel like going to the hardware store, so I also epoxied the pipe flange down. And again, we're just not gonna ask too many questions.
All right, I'm gonna eat dinner while these cure and then we'll light them up. Okay, so dinner was delicious. Thank you for asking. And it is now time to light this up. Ooh. Okay. And this one, since it doesn't, this one's trapped. So this one, I believe, needs one of these bad boys. These are really fun. Also, it's very cold in here, so if I look like I'm shivering, that's what it is. And there we have it! Decommissioned runway light lamps. Thank you so much, Jess, for letting me steal these. I guess since you let me, I didn't really steal them, but. Also, if you're interested in aviation content, I post a lot more of it on Instagram, so feel free to give me a follow there, or leave a comment if you really want more flying videos on this main channel. Also, if you liked this like one-day build style of video, please let me know, because it's a lot less stressful to make than like the trailer. Damn, these look really cool. I should do small projects more often.